Your mitochondria, the tiny power generators inside every cell of your body, begin failing silently after 60. Not slowly, not gradually. They collapse. And when they collapse, they send a signal that cancer cells have been waiting for. I'm Dr. Aito Tanakama, oncogeneticist with over 20 years in cancer and stem cell research. Today I'm going to show you 7 foods that reverse that collapse at the cellular level. Not supplements, not protocols, not expensive interventions. Foods available in any grocery store, backed by decades of peer-reviewed science. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will change how you think about every meal you eat. Most people think about cancer the same way. A gene mutates, a cell goes rogue. The body either catches it or doesn't. It's a story about genetics, about bad luck, about family history. And that story is incomplete. Here is what 30 years of oncogenetics research increasingly shows. Cancer is not simply a genetic disease. It is fundamentally an energy disease, a disease of failing cellular infrastructure. And the infrastructure that fails first is the mitochondria. Mitochondria are not just energy factories. Yes, they produce ATP, the fuel every cell runs on. But their role goes far deeper. Mitochondria are the decision makers of the cell. They monitor cellular health. They regulate repair, dormancy, and elimination of damaged cells. When a cell is beyond repair, healthy mitochondria give the signal, shut it down, before it can cause damage. That is your defense. After 60, mitochondrial function declines measurably. The membranes weaken. Energy production becomes inefficient. Critically, the signaling capacity deteriorates. Damaged cells that should be shut down aren't. They linger. They accumulate. Your body doesn't rely on mitochondria alone. It runs 3 parallel defense systems simultaneously, and all 3 weaken with age. The first, mitochondrial surveillance. The ability to identify cellular damage and initiate controlled elimination before problems take root. The second, stem cell regeneration. Your body constantly replaces damaged tissue with fresh cells. When stem cell activity slows, repair slows with it. The third, DNA repair. Specialized enzyme proteins scan your genetic material around the clock, finding breaks and correcting them continuously. When all 3 weaken simultaneously, which is exactly what happens after 60, the window of vulnerability opens wide. The 7 foods I'm going to show you target all 3 systems simultaneously. That is what makes this approach genuinely different. Let's start with the one that most people have completely overlooked. The one that begins not in the cell, but in the gut. In oncology research, we spent decades studying the tumor itself, its genetics, its metabolism, its blood supply. What we spent far less time studying, until recently, was the internal terrain the tumor lives in. That changed everything. There is a bacterial strain called Akkermansia muciniphila. It lives in the mucus lining of your gut. Its presence, or absence, directly determines how effectively your immune system responds to abnormal and potentially dangerous cells. Patients with high levels of Akkermansia mount stronger, faster, more coordinated immune responses. This is demonstrated across multiple major studies. Patients with depleted Akkermansia show measurably reduced immune effectiveness, even receiving the same treatment at the same dose. But here is what connects this to your dinner plate. Akkermansia needs to be fed. It requires specific compounds to thrive. It requires a class of compounds called ellagitannins. And pomegranate is the single richest dietary source identified in the research. When you consume pomegranate consistently, you are actively cultivating the bacterial population that determines your immune system's fighting capacity. Beyond the gut, pomegranate compounds also support the integrity of the mitochondrial membrane, the outer layer through which all cellular energy signals pass. A compromised membrane means compromised signaling. A well-supported membrane means your cellular defense system stays alert and responsive. 120 milliliters of pure pomegranate juice per day, roughly half a small glass, or half a fresh fruit daily. No added sugar, no blends, the real thing only. Akkermansia responds to whole food compounds, not processed alternatives. Half a glass every morning. Your immune defense begins in your gut, and your gut needs this signal every single day. Now, EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate. If you remember one compound from everything I say today, make it this one. The depth of research behind EGCG in cancer biology is unlike almost anything else in the field of nutritional science. EGCG works on two levels simultaneously. Most people only know about one. The second level is what changed my thinking completely. The first, anti-angiogenesis, blocking the molecular signals that tumors send to recruit new blood vessels. A tumor without blood supply cannot grow. It sits contained, harmless, unable to spread anywhere in your body. EGCG jams that recruitment communication channel completely. The second level, mitochondrial membrane protection. EGCG stabilizes the outer membrane of the mitochondria directly. When that membrane deteriorates, and it does deteriorate with age, the cell's ability to regulate energy and send distress signals breaks down. EGCG actively slows that deterioration, protecting the command center that determines whether your cellular defense remains functional or goes silent. In Japan, where 3 to 5 cups of green tea daily is common, researchers have tracked consistently different health outcomes for decades. This is not coincidence. This is a signal worth paying serious scientific attention to, and the research community has done exactly that. 3 cups per day is the research-supported target. But here is the detail that changes the effectiveness of every single cup you drink. Add lemon. A squeeze of fresh lemon juice increases the bioavailability of EGCG by up to 6 times. The same cup of tea, 6 times more of the compound your mitochondria and immune system actually need, from 1 squeeze of lemon. Milk out, always. Milk proteins bind to EGCG and block absorption entirely. This is not a minor effect. It eliminates the benefit. Brew at 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Steep 3 to 5 minutes. Lemon in, milk out. That is the complete protocol. 3 cups, every day. The research behind this is 30 years deep, and it begins at the mitochondrial membrane level. The next food takes us into territory I find particularly compelling as a stem cell researcher. It involves a genetic master switch. In my years of stem cell research, very few dietary compounds have impressed me as consistently as sulforaphane, and its source will surprise most people. Sulforaphane is not a supplement. It is a molecule that forms naturally when you physically break the cell walls of a specific food, and it activates one of the most important genetic pathways in human biology, a pathway called NRF2. NRF2 is a transcription factor, a master regulator that sits dormant inside your cells until it receives the right activation signal. When activated, it switches on over 200 genes simultaneously, responsible for detoxification, antioxidant production, inflammatory control, and critically, mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria inside your existing cells. This is where it gets remarkable. After 60, your cells don't just have damaged mitochondria, they have fewer of them. Mitochondrial density declines measurably with age. Fewer mitochondria means less energy, less signaling capacity, and a weaker cellular defense system. This is not cosmetic aging, it is functional decline. Sulforaphane, through NRF2 activation, stimulates the creation of new mitochondria inside existing cells. It does not slow the decline, it reverses it. The richest known dietary source of sulforaphane is not mature broccoli. It is broccoli sprouts, the 3 to 4 day old seedlings. Researchers at Johns Hopkins measured the difference. Broccoli sprouts contain between 50 and 100 times more sulforaphane per gram. The same plant, 100 times the potency, in a small handful. A quarter cup delivers more than a large plate of mature broccoli. A quarter cup, 3 to 4 times per week. Always added after cooking. High heat degrades sulforaphane rapidly and significantly. Chew them thoroughly or chop before eating. Sulforaphane only releases when plant cell walls are physically broken. Raw, chewed, added cold. You can grow broccoli sprouts at home in a mason jar for almost nothing. Rinse twice daily. Harvest on day 3 or 4. The most cost-effective mitochondrial intervention I am aware of in the entire nutritional research literature, and it fits in your refrigerator. Now let's talk about your immune system's most elite units and the stem cell connection that most researchers are only beginning to understand. Your body runs 3 parallel defense systems simultaneously, and all 3 weaken with age in ways that matter deeply. Your immune system has specialized units that most people have never heard of. Natural killer cells, NK cells, their actual scientific name, their sole purpose. identify and eliminate cells that have become abnormal. They make that decision in real time for every cell they encounter. After 60, NK cell activity declines in two ways simultaneously. Count decreases, and killing efficiency of those remaining also diminishes. Your immune patrol is both smaller and slower, and your body needs a specific nutritional signal to reverse both of those trends. Research from the University of Maine demonstrated that regular blueberry consumption significantly increased NK cell count and killing efficiency simultaneously. A separate study showed measurable increases in T-cell populations, your broader immune response network, after consistent blueberry intake over several weeks. The compounds responsible, pterostilbene and anthocyanins, the pigments producing blueberries' characteristic deep blue-purple color. These molecules stimulate immune cell production at the bone marrow level, the origin point of your entire immune architecture. But here is the dimension that connects blueberries specifically to my stem cell research. And this is the part most people never hear. Pterostilbene has demonstrated a remarkable capacity to protect and activate tissue stem cell populations directly. Stem cells are your body's repair workforce, generating fresh replacement cells for damaged tissue throughout your body continuously. When stem cell activity slows with age, tissue repair slows with it. Pterostilbene appears to maintain stem cell responsiveness, keeping that workforce functional. 1 cup per day, fresh or frozen. Both retain anthocyanin content effectively. Frozen blueberries often outperform fresh ones in transit for a week. Add them to oatmeal, blend into a smoothie, eat them straight. The delivery method is irrelevant. Consistency is everything here. NK cells need a daily signal, not an occasional large dose. 1 cup, every single day. That is the research-supported protocol. Bioavailability is not a minor detail. It is the entire story. And tomatoes are the most striking example of this principle. Bioavailability is not a minor detail. It is the entire story. And tomatoes are the most striking example of this principle in action. Tomatoes contain lycopene, a carotenoid antioxidant with well-documented protective properties across multiple tissue types. Studies have linked higher lycopene blood levels with reduced risk of concerning cellular changes in prostate, lung, and stomach tissue across multiple large studies. Lycopene also demonstrates anti-angiogenic properties, interfering with tumor blood vessel recruitment through a similar mechanism to EGCG. But when you eat a raw tomato, the lycopene is locked inside the plant cell matrix in a geometric configuration your body cannot access efficiently. You absorb a fraction of what is actually there. The rest passes through completely unused. This is one of the most counterintuitive findings in nutritional science. Heat breaks that matrix open. Cooking tomatoes increases bioavailable lycopene by 2 to 3 times compared to eating them raw. Now add olive oil. Lycopene is fat-soluble. Your body absorbs it dramatically better when dietary fat is present in the same meal. Researchers call this a synergistic absorption effect. The combination outperforms either element alone, measurably, consistently, across multiple study populations. 3 servings of cooked tomatoes per week. Sauce, roasted, canned, soup, all qualify fully. Always with olive oil. Meals you are likely already making, now working harder for you at the cellular level. Cooked wins here, every time. I want to address the next food directly, because this misconception has caused real, measurable harm in clinical practice. People avoiding a protective food based on fear. The concern about soy goes like this. It contains phytoestrogens, plant compounds that interact weakly with estrogen receptors in the body. The reasoning sounds coherent. The research, consistently and repeatedly, says otherwise. And I want you to understand exactly why. Soy contains a compound called genistein. Genistein is a potent natural inhibitor of angiogenesis, one of the most significant identified in food. It does not stimulate problematic cell growth. It starves it, cutting off the blood vessel supply that tumors depend on to survive. Beyond angiogenesis, genistein operates at the epigenetic level. This is a dimension that goes deeper than anything we could study 30 years ago. Epigenetics is the study of how gene expression is regulated, which genes get switched on or off, without changing the underlying DNA sequence. Genistein has been shown to influence epigenetic markers associated with cellular growth regulation. That is a profound and specific mechanism. The Shanghai Women's Health Study followed over 70,000 women for more than a decade. one of the largest nutritional studies ever conducted. Women consuming the most soy showed significantly lower rates of health concerns, not higher. The data is consistent and unambiguous. Whole soy foods only: edamame, tofu, tempeh, miso, 2 servings per week minimum. That is where the genistein lives, in the whole food. Not processed soy protein isolate, the whole food, as close to the original bean as possible. That is the research-supported form. I have saved the 7th food for last deliberately, because the research behind it is the kind of finding that makes you sit quietly for a moment. Your DNA is being damaged constantly, every single day, by metabolic byproducts, environmental exposure, the mechanical process of cell division itself. This is not abnormal. This is biology. The question is never whether damage occurs. The question is whether your repair systems can keep pace. After 60, DNA repair capacity declines measurably. Damage accumulates faster than it gets corrected, and accumulated damage is the upstream foundation of everything. Here is the study that stopped me when I first read it. Researchers took healthy adults, had them eat 3 kiwis per day for 3 weeks. Just 3 weeks. Then they measured DNA repair capacity, specifically the efficiency of strand break correction in the participants' cells. The result was a 60% improvement in DNA repair activity. 60%. From 3 weeks of eating fruit, not a pharmaceutical. Fruit. Kiwi contains an unusually synergistic combination: vitamin C, vitamin E, folate, and specific phytonutrients that reactivate your cell's own repair machinery. This is a team effect. No single compound replicates it alone, and it is one of the most striking examples of nutritional synergy in the published literature. 1 to 3 kiwis per day. Every day, not occasionally. The skin contains a concentrated antioxidant layer worth keeping if the texture doesn't bother you. And ask yourself honestly, when did you last eat a kiwi? For most people over 60, the answer is months ago. That gap is worth closing. Now let me tell you what happens inside your body when all 7 of these foods are present together, consistently, over time. In oncogenetics, we have a concept called the multi-hit hypothesis. Cancer doesn't develop from a single failure. It requires multiple protective systems to break down simultaneously. 1 failed defense can be compensated. 2 can often still be managed. But when 3, 4, 5 systems fail at the same time, the window opens. These 7 foods address that problem from the opposite direction. They do not shore up one system and leave the others exposed. They work across every layer of your cellular defense simultaneously. That is what makes this approach genuinely different from any single intervention. Pomegranate feeds the gut bacteria that power your immune response. Green tea protects the mitochondrial membrane and blocks tumor blood supply. Broccoli sprouts trigger NRF2, generating fresh mitochondria and activating over 200 protective genes at once. Blueberries sharpen your NK cell patrol and maintain your stem cell repair workforce. Cooked tomatoes with olive oil deliver bioavailable lycopene across multiple tissue types. Soy provides genistein, operating at the epigenetic level, regulating gene expression patterns that control cellular growth at its deepest layer. And kiwi reactivates the DNA repair machinery that catches damage before it can become permanent. 7 entry points, 7 mechanisms, all operating in parallel. The combined effect is not the sum of 7 individual benefits. It is exponential. These compounds communicate inside your body, amplifying each other's pathways. Uncontrolled cell growth is adaptive. It finds workarounds through single pathways. Blocking multiple pathways simultaneously, it has nowhere to go. And consistency matters infinitely more than intensity. A small amount of each food, every single day, creates a biochemical environment fundamentally resistant to uncontrolled growth. Here is what I want you to understand above everything else today. Your biology after 60 is not fixed. It is not a sealed outcome. The mitochondria respond to nutritional signals at any age. The NK cells respond. The stem cells respond. The DNA repair enzymes respond. These systems are listening right now, today. And what you put on your plate sends a signal they act on immediately. Kiwi, 1 to 3 daily, restores DNA repair capacity. Blueberries, 1 cup daily, sharpens NK cells and maintains your stem cell workforce. Green tea with lemon, 3 cups daily, protects mitochondrial membranes and blocks tumor blood supply. Soy, 2 servings weekly, operates at the epigenetic layer. Take care of your mitochondria. They are taking care of you. And please, before any significant dietary changes, speak with your own physician first.